Okay. Today's presentation by Ed Poccia reviews contacting and communication techniques with the International Space Station. So unmute yourself, make sure everybody else is muted, and unmute yourself, Ed, and take it away.
Okay, we're just going to bring up that slideshow if I can.
I think you should be able to do it now.
Okay. Let me, do you see it?
Yes, sir. Looks good.
Okay. Is the slide large enough and everything?
I believe so.
Okay. Larry Scott, I noticed that you're on. So if you have anything to add, I know you're experienced with this. If you have anything to add, please don't hesitate to pop in. Also, if you have a question, you can send it to me via the digital chat mode in this. Okay, we're going to do a presentation on making packet contacts using the ISS digipeater. There is a digipeater on board, or a digipeater/repeater on board the International Space Station that alternates whether it's working on packet or on FM voice. Right now, it's using FM voice. And a little while ago, and it'll be back with packet in mid-June, according to their schedule. But operating through this digipeater repeater is actually quite simple if you follow these very simple steps. We're going to take it and show you exactly how to do it. Here's the software. David, can you see that clearly?
Yes, I can.
Okay. It's called RMS Express. You can follow the specifics on the left-hand side as you look at the screen, or on the right-hand side. It might be more clear. Essentially, it's winlink.org. And that top WinLink global radio email pops up. Go to select the downloads, brings up another screen. And from there, collect user programs, brings up another screen, and it just will click on WinLink Express, and then it gives you all those installs. And it's circled in red there on the screen. Once you have that, extract the zip files and open up RMS Express. Now, when you open up RMS Express in your C drive, you'll see lots of files. You're looking for the file that says Simple Terminal. However, you're looking for the one that says Simple Terminal with the symbol that's shown there. That's the box with the red bar on the top, and it's kind of grayish in color toward the last 2/3 or 3/4 of the panel. And that'll bring you into Simple Terminal. And simply double click on that, and Simple Terminal will open up. Now, Simple Terminal is a very good place to start with any packets, sending email messages and receiving messages directly, or through bulletin board systems, of which there are several in the Albuquerque area. You also can accomplish what they call keyboard-to-keyboard chatting with Simple Terminal. And I've used this program very successfully to send messages and receive messages from N2GJ, our New Jersey Jerry, and also through the International Space Station. It makes it very easy to do, please. Let's go to some settings. Let's take a look at some settings on your radio. Is that panel large enough, David, that you can read it clearly?
Yeah, it's clear.
Okay. You want to set up some kind of an antenna outside. It doesn't need to be very sophisticated. I'm using a ground plane that's shown up on the left, just above the radio. That disc cone antenna works fine. I use it for local contacts, SCATNet, and Rusty Raiders. I use it to check into various Berlin County Aries nets. I use it for satellite contacts with the International Space Station. It doesn't work as well as a tracking beam, but it works. I use this for that ground plane for disc cone for downloading slow scan TV images from the International Space Station as well. The middle antenna is a beam antenna that you can use for tracking. This particular one has a very wide beam width, and you don't even need to set this one up on a where you're doing elevation. Just azimuth set at about 25 or 30 degrees, and it should work very nicely. With a very inexpensive rotor, by the way. The next one is what they call an egg beater antenna. It works rather expensive to purchase. I built one and it worked okay, except that I found that the antenna was rather top heavy and was not very resistant to the wind. Excuse me, it would blow over pretty easily, and also was difficult to put up the way I had it. So you can build one of those. The plans for that is on another slideshow that I have. Okay, be sure that your antenna, however, is in a very clear spot of the sky. Use low loss coax. I use LMR 400 and make it as short as possible. The key to these antennas is that you have them with a good view of the sky. You're going to tune to 145.825. Now, because of it's on 2 meters, you don't need to adjust for Doppler shift. 145.825 works through the entire length of its path. Open up your squelch, of course, and then make your connections to your TNC. The Club Portable with the ICOM 7000 has a TNC already set up and ready to go. The TNC needs some kind of a 12-volt power source. The TNC to the computer cable usually comes with when you purchase the TNC, terminal node controller. However, the terminal node controller to the radio is probably an additional purchase, maybe $15 from Associated Radio. Set the power to less than 30 watts. I don't think I'm even using anywhere half that. You don't really need a lot of power. Let's go on. These are the settings within your terminal node controller that need to be adjusted to make those contacts. You start off in the command mode by pressing Control C, and you type in my call, all in caps, and then with a space, type in your call sign. And that will log in the call sign into the terminal node controller. Unproto sets the digipeater and used for packet transmissions. I've got mine set up for CQ via ARIS. I echo on. Echo on is pretty convenient. Matter of fact, I use echo on whenever I operate in the simple terminal. What it does, it types the characters and simply puts it back onto the screen so you can see what you've typed. The nice part about doing packet with the ISS is because in all of the messages coming in and going out, because you've got echo on, will actually stay on there so you can scroll back through later and see who you worked or didn't work or whatever, or who else was on. Under monitor on, that simply displays the other packets that are on the station. Mol call displays all the packets on the frequency. MCON allows you to see all the packets even when you're in converse mode. That's pretty cool. There's another one that I sometimes use. It's called MCOM dot com, MCOM, C-O-M, on. And I don't know what it really, well, I know what a definition is, but I don't know what it actually makes any difference. I've used it, not used it, and didn't see it make any difference on the screen.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Ed, it's Jerry. One of the nice things that Simple Terminal has is it has the ability to view the log. So anything that you type, if you have Echo on, and then anything that comes back to you, that all goes into a text file, and you can go and review it. And it just whatever you do, it just appends it. So the log just keeps going and going and going and going. So if you want to see the most recent stuff, you just have to go to the bottom of the file. It's very, very helpful.
Good. Oh, also you do mHeard, do the same. You get a nice list of just the call signs that you've heard. Setting the date and the time is a DA function. For instance, I wrote this originally for March 25th, 2021 at 12:34. And the way you would type that in is DA space 21 for the year, 03 for the month, 25 for the date, and then the time 12:34, and then 00 for the seconds. And then when you type in DA, it'll come out with your date and time. Converse mode on allows a TNC to transmit whatever you type in. So it's hello from Tony. And then what you can do is copy that and then paste it in later. So every time you hit enter or return, depending on your computer, it will display that message until somebody comes back to you. Okay. Now, how are you going to find the ISS? Go to amsat.org, click on the satellite information, and then on that pull down menu, you get past predictions. And then from there, under show predictions for list of satellite, that's a pull down menu, and ISS is right at the top. And then you want the next 10 passes. That's pretty good for your full day and a half or so. And then take a look at the sites. The software will automatically calculate your latitude and longitude based on your grid. So just simply type in your grid. Ours for Albuquerque is DM65, 4 digits is enough. And then press calculate positions. And then predict at the bottom. And what it'll do is it'll generate, as you can see in the upper left-hand corner, all that information. The IS has been selected, 10 passes have been selected, the grid has been selected. We've clicked on calculate position, and the latitude longitude has been posted. The base elevation of Albuquerque is approximately 1,500 meters. And I go predict, and then here it makes a rather nice list. If you just take a look at maximum elevation, you can see, which is sort of what I call good passes. And that's pretty much anything that's over 30 degrees. We've got the mountains in the way to the east, and probably a lot of, if you live in the valley, a lot of buildings to the west. So you might need something greater than 30 degrees. Also, if it's, I've made contacts through the ISS with as little as 24 degrees elevation. But again, it's a shorter pass. So now you don't need the information about the azimuth or the elevation or when you're going to lose the signal. Just the fact that it's going to be a nice high pass if you're using a ground plane antenna. So 71 degrees is going, that's pretty high, almost overhead actually. 59 degrees is a great pass. And you can see these durations only last about anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes. And I call those good passes. And all you really need to know is the time that it's passing over. The acquisition of single AOS is in Greenwich Mean Time. The website n2yo.com actually tracks the satellite over a map in real time. Now, the red dot is us in Albuquerque. I know it looks like Los Angeles, but obviously it isn't. The yellow line is the path of the satellite. There's a small icon, if you can see it, of the International Space Station, and then it's sort of an arrow pointing to it to identify it where it is. Now, you can take a look at that footprint. That's what the red shaded red circle is. Gives you an idea of the coverage that you have Now, in this particular pass, it's passing overhead. But as you can see, as the satellite would move, and by the way, this is a moving map in real time on November 2, Yankee Oscar. It moves, so you can see about what you're gonna. So you can get into Mexico. Actually, a little earlier in the past, you can probably get into Alaska. I have worked Alaska, not through ISS, but through other satellites, which frankly don't have the coverage that this one does. And if the satellite path or orbit were a little bit further east, you'd probably be able to get into New York. I was once able to get into Florida on a more eastern orbit. I made one contact and that was it, because I wanted the guys in California and Seattle to get the opportunity to work Florida, and many of them did. So here's some operating tips for Packet. Unproto is going to give you CQ and your grid. That's already set in. I want you to watch your screen, because you'll hear the tone bursts coming through on your audio portion of your radio. And then you'll see the screen starting to print out, and you'll see sort of who's on. There might be a rare grid state or even a DX in there that may be operating. You may want to try to work that one station. The ISS passes are, because it's such a broad footprint, it works like half the country at a time. So it's busy. And so you make one or two contacts and then give other guys a chance to play in a band. You'll notice that these ISS things come over pretty well. They're pretty popular. I like to type in a message. I'm on number 4, to type in a message, then copy it. So when I send it, sometimes I don't get a response, and I'll just paste that back in. And so you don't have to keep typing out the same message all the time. So I paste in to resend it. And every time you hit return or enter, it goes out, it transmits out. Number 5, Logbook of the World is commonly used for QSLing. They generally don't use, they generally don't use cards. I have sent out cards, and the cards I got back said, they say use Logbook of the World, and that's what's commonly used for satellite contact. On the however side of that, in Logbook, what you have to do is actually, once you get the file in, you've got to go in to edit and change the contact information. Otherwise, it looks like a 70 centimeter terrestrial contact. It's rather self-explanatory once you see it. I guess I should have put it up, but it's really easy to do, and it's not a real issue. At least I didn't find an issue, and believe me, you won't either. But this way to look like a satellite contact. Because what happens is you go into the edit and you select the satellite. You say the propagation was a satellite, and then there's another scroll down menu, and you pick the satellite, and the time and the date and everything is already in there from your contact information. So it's the only 2 really additions you need to make. So for Packet, that's really about it. The problem that I see is that, it's short, it's 10 minutes. And, so you might be busy for those 10 minutes doing something else. Because life does get in the way sometimes. But that's Packet, but it works very, very fast. It's not a real chatty mode. Even contacts that I made 2 o'clock in the morning, where you figure it's 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock on the East Coast, it wouldn't be busy, but you'd be wrong. It is. Now, making voice contacts through the ISS repeater. Now, the Packet operations alternate with the FM voice. The FM voice is on now really until mid-June, the way the schedule goes. But the schedule is not adhered to very closely. So just listen in and see what's going on. You can check the status in the AMSAT website under status, satellite status, and take a look at ISS data or ISS FM and see what's going on. Okay. Now the difference here is that you do need to program the radio. Excuse me. because the downlink, while the uplink is 145.99, and doesn't need to be changed, you do need the PL67 hertz tone. The download does need to be adjusted. So what I do is I load up 5 memory channels, and I program them in with the frequencies that I've listed there, and it seems to work pretty well. Generally, I don't start to hear anything really coming in strongly until I get to where about channel 2 is, maybe 3 or 4 minutes into the pass. Again, depending upon the pass. Somebody else is in there. Did someone have a comment? And then as the satellite passes, not overhead, but passes you, you need to sort of go the other channels, channel 4 and 5. Stay with it. Stay with the passes. The other night, I heard a fella in Virginia on what I consider to be a Western pass. The pass was west of me, and it did pick up a fella in Virginia. It was a fellow who's very active, and he's on a lot because I worked him a few months ago on a different satellite, and he was working guys. One was the guy who was working that I heard was a guy in Colorado. Operating tips.
Question, Ed.
Yes, sir.
On the previous slide, you're approaching number 2 and close by number 3. Frequencies were the same. Should they be
Oh,
the
I'm
same?
sorry. Yeah, this should be 05. It should be 05. I'm sorry.
That's what I thought. Good deal, buddy.
Good. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'll have to make that change on the website too. For tips for voice FM, again, this is a busy place. They all need your call sign and your grid. They're freaky about grids. Use phonetics, because the signals really aren't, while solid, they sometimes lots of QSB. Using CQ satellite is a term that's considered bad form. You shouldn't be doing that. There was a guy the other night on, he said CQ satellite or CQ ISS, and one guy came on and says that you shouldn't be using CQ. Listen a lot, see who's on. There are several people who ride around in RVs and work these satellites from different grids and in different states. And they're good guys to follow because you can operate, you get some rare states like Nebraska, Kansas, North Dakota. I even worked Alaska this way from a guy who was RVing, and that was kind of cool. The ISS passes are short, and believe me, they're busy. So make just 1 or 2 contacts, and then give other people a chance to it. What you should do that I found very helpful, and maybe you write faster than I do, is I would record my sessions, just in case I can't read my writing at the end of the session. So I record my session so I can write down the correct call sign. And again, Logbook of the World is commonly used for these kinds of satellite contacts, although you do need to edit them. You have to identify the QSO as a satellite contact, and then use the satellite's name. Otherwise, it looks like a terrestrial contact. Looks like you've worked Alaska on 70 centimeters. Some antenna. Anyway, that's all I have. Any questions? I can see where I can make some changes to this.
Yeah, I was wondering, has anybody checked to see where they're going to be, what their flight path is going to be on field day weekend?
That's kind of okay. If I can answer that, the ISS from time to time does change its orbit. Sometimes to get away from things, sometimes for whatever they're doing, and because it's such a large mass, it also changes because of influences from solar, wind, and things. So looking 6 weeks ahead to field day, or 5 weeks ahead to field day wouldn't really be a good thing. You know, a few days ahead of time check. It's the best way to do it. And you can check it so quickly on msot.org that it doesn't really pay to take a look way in advance.
Okay.
It's 100 points, by the way, for field day. So it's something that you would want to you would want to do. Again, it's a field day. Field day contacts on the satellite are harder because they're even busier than you think. And most people are using portable equipment. They're using the Arrow satellite, the Arrow antenna, or a handy-talkie, or an elk antenna and a handy-talkie, or and those are tougher to point and things. People forget sometimes to make compensations for the offsets. So it's interesting. Anyone else have a question? This program is listed in the education presentation section of the club's website. So if you need to take a look at it or write things down, go ahead, enjoy. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Ed.
Well, thank you very much, Ed, for that wonderful presentation. I have a quick question, not specifically about that particular presentation, but about how long have you been creating those PowerPoint presentations?
I use them back east for education all the time
Okay,
in my
so
classrooms.
many years?
PowerPoint came out, I think, in '95, and that's when I was doing it. It was interesting because when Microsoft came out with Office, PowerPoint was one of the suite options. And I was at a meeting and they said they wanted to get this person from another town to come in and teach the teachers how to use PowerPoint because they felt it would be a good tool. And without ever having seen PowerPoint, I said, I could do it, no problem. And I've never even seen the program, but I figured I could figure it out in 3 weeks. And I did, and I made presentations. The great thing for PowerPoint for me was that you can save them and you can make changes, as I would make a change to this one. And then you can post it on your website. And I was doing that even back in '95. I had a website called Mr. Poccia's Planet. And PowerPoint became a very great tool. Even in math, I had demonstrated, I would animate how you would do multiply fractions or divide fractions and by different programs like that. And it would animate it. So it's kind of cool. I've been doing PowerPoint presentation for a very long time.
The reason I ask is Becky was in here while you were doing your presentations, and I said, just look at this, Becky. This guy's been doing this a while because he does an absolutely beautiful job of creating the content so it's perfectly understandable. So kudos, buddy. Great job. I always like to watch your presentations. Bill Mader does a great job also, but you really do a very good job with your information. I do have 2 other points to talk about real quick that I forgot to include on my agenda, and that's because they came about after I had typed the agenda and I forgot to update it. The first one is the AB5WJ Memorial Instructors Group is pleased to announce that they are reorganizing and preparing to reopen with free amateur radio licensing classes later this year. They'll be offering these classes at all levels. The technician and general classes will be offered at the community room of the Albuquerque Police Department West Side Command Center. I think we're familiar with that is. And the extra class seminars will be held at a different location they'll determine later on. These are the same classes that were offered to all levels by Frank Warren Sr. now an SK, and his group of associate instructors. These classes will conclude with an FCC examination as offered by the El Malpais Volunteer Examiners Group. Walk-ins will be welcome. There are new FCC requirements and fees for these testing sessions. These will be in-person classes and testing sessions and will comply with all of the prevailing COVID protocols in effect at that time. For more information or to reserve a seat at one of the classes, please send an email to Larry Goga at ae5cz@awr.net. Now that you have your pencils poised, that's Alpha Echo 5 Charlie Zulu at awrl.net. And on the subject of the Albuquerque Police Department community room, I have made 2 contacts to the Albuquerque Police Department, and both times they have not set forth their protocols yet for use of the community room, but I have certainly got on the list. Our club is now on the list over there for 3rd Saturday, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Probably from communications with them, probably starting in July. So look forward to that. We'll get the hopefully back to meeting in person in July. Let's see. Thanks to everybody that showed up today. I certainly do appreciate it. Looks to me like at one time we had 18 people there. Jim, KO5 Victor, did email me that for some reason his computer, I believe, doesn't have a microphone or a camera. And so he is only monitoring at this time, and he didn't have anything to add at this time. So just watch the Wednesday emails and the monthly newsletters, because that's where all of his information comes in. We're all aware that the tailgate is the 19th of June at American Legion. Gosh, I've forgotten the number. Anyway, it's down there near the New Mexico Hospital, UNM Hospital. All that information will be in the emails and the stuff coming up. And when I type it, don't have to remember it. So again, yes, thanks everybody for showing up. And any last questions or anything before we close it down?
And to DJ, I'd like to ask a question.
Go right ahead, Jerry.
I see that Jim Cater's on AF5FH. I'm wondering if he has anything to report on the ongoing VE testing that he's doing. Jim? Jim on mute.
Jim Cater. Unmute. There
Is
you
that
go.
better?
There it is.
There you
That
go.
works.
Oh, literally, it was more exciting than that. I was, as I'm sitting here, I'm scanning the paperwork to upload from the 8 people that were tested today. Thanks very much to Michael Rohrkemper and John Trebot and David Fisher for helping as the volunteer examiners. But oh yeah, it's VE testing post-COVID. We have to scan everything and upload it at the end of the session. But yes, we had a good session today. And yes, David, I am listening to what you're saying. And thank you for approaching the community room in the July timeframe, because my crew would like to move. The backyard gets less and less fun depending upon the time of the year that you're in. Right now, it's beautiful. But trust me, come July, it gets a bit hot. January was no walk in the park either. We somehow got through January. But yeah, we would love to move back indoors, David. So the 9 to 2 thing sounds lovely. We'll do it after or before the club meeting on that Saturday. We'll talk, okay?
Beautiful, Jim. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to it, buddy.
Oh, trust me, we'd like to get out of the backyard. Certain times of the year, it's not as much fun. But yes, we still are testing every month, and folks are contacting me from the contact information, both on the High Desert website and the ARL website. But I also get emails from folks that found out about us from Caravan Club. So folks are talking back and forth, which is a good thing.
One thing that Bill Mader talked about last night is that they're now offering a 3-month free trial, access to all of the ARL content to new hams. So there might be something that we want to add to the information that we give to the when they come to our sessions.
That's a good point. Right now, what we're doing is handing out a double-sided piece of paper that basically says on the one side, join High Desert, and this is why. And on the other side of the paper, it says join Caravan Club, and this is why. But yeah, giving them something else would be a good idea also. We try to be inclusive. Yeah, I'll have to get in touch with my usual contact for that kind of thing is Maria, who is the ARL VEC lead in Connecticut. So I'll ask her if she's got something that they've already printed up that I can hand out. If not, to your point, Jerry, we'd have to put something together ourselves.
That'd be fabulous. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Jerry, for spotting Jim. I had missed him completely. Thank you for pointing that out and allowing him to have his input here as well. Anybody else got any burning desire to say anything?
Can I ask a question for the role? For
Yes.
the Okay. So Ken, what is Ken's call again?
AG5 UI, Alpha Golf 5 Uniform Yankee.
I knew that. I don't know why I forgot. Tom, Sif, Thomas. Okay, I'll have to
His
look it up.
call,
Gene,
his call is Kilo India 5 Juliet Oscar Oscar.
okay, great. Gene Morse. Do you know that?
Mine is KG5ZRU.
Zulu Romeo uniform. Gotcha. Thank you. And Bob Ween, I know I should know this, but I might.
It's a Kilo Golf 6 Romeo Juliet Whiskey.
Romeo Juliet whiskey. And last but not least, Blaine Bachman. I could look it up, I guess, through Cures or the roster. Cool. That's
Wait a
everything.
minute,
Thank
wait a
you.
minute. Blaine raised his hand. Blaine raised his hand.
Oh, go for it.
Unmute, Blaine. Go ahead. Unmute. If you push the space bar of the computer, you can talk.
Talk. No problem. I'll find it. I'll find it and include it in the minutes.
Hey,
Thank you.